how to kick the short fuse for good and calmly lead your team. I want you to know when we start this that there is no judgment from me. What I'm going to be talking about is from personal experience. And the short fuse, when you've been under stress for long periods of time, your short fuse tends to get shorter and shorter. Quite often, we find it hits our family first. We're able to keep our cool at work, but as you are longer on the job, and also if you are promoting up the ladder, there's a lot more stress and pressure put on you, which hits part of your stress system and actually causes more of a short fuse. So let's dive in first with starting as to what's going on so you can actually understand that it's not all in your head, that you're not able to control all of this. So the first thing that whenever anybody does come to me and talks to me about somebody that's in a leadership position, the first thing I ask is, what was that person like earlier in their career? Were they short fused? Were they hot tempered? Or were they really able to communicate? How were they on the job? Were they respected? Were they able to really get the job done effectively? And quite often when somebody comes back to me and they've done a little bit of digging, they're like, yeah, they were a great leader. They were somebody who we knew was good for this job, good for this position. But I don't know, something happened to them when they got into that position. And here's the thing, your stress system has never evolved since caveman days. If you were somebody that used to be calm, if you used to be able to big picture think, if you used to be good reading your reports and getting work done in a very efficient manner, and that started to change, then quite often that is your stress system telling you. If we dig back and when we're going back and we find out, yeah, this person did have a short fuse, they never really had their crap together, it may be part to do with their stress system, but I'm not sure how much I can help in that situation. There's other things that they need to deal with. But if it is somebody who used to be calm, who used to have their composure, big picture think, communicate great with their team, and that changed, then that is where we would start looking into your stress system. So you have 3 parts to your stress system: hormones, nervous system, and gut. We're going to touch on a little bit of all 3 right now when it comes to short fuse, because they actually all play a part in the short fuse. So in caveman days, to start off with, your body never ever adapted, meaning it couldn't tell the difference between you being on a hot call, rushing to that hot call, lights and sirens, and it being a very, very high priority, high taxed, stressed system where you physically need the adrenaline, where you physically need to be forward thinking and be aware of your surroundings, where you physically need that extra energy, the extra, the extra energy, the extra fuel in order to fight that fight. But through time, our bodies do not know the difference between that stress and the stress of having a whole bunch of paperwork piling on you, more duties, being in charge of a team, where when you start off, you're in charge of yourself and possibly your partner. And then as you go further up the ladder, you're in charge of more and more guys. And when that happens, there's a big stress, a big responsibility that lands on you with that. And we're not even talking about shift work, all the extra hours and the time and everything that's going on at home, all the family guilt. Your body cannot tell the difference. So anytime there's a stress, worrying about budgets, knowing that your guys need things, but you're not being given it from above and you need to problem solve. There's all kinds of things that happen when you are in that leadership role where stressors are piled on you, where you don't need that adrenaline rush, where you don't need that hit, that hit of energy, the glucose being pushed through you. because you're physically, it's more of a mental stress and it's not a physical stress. So what happens on the hormonal side is you have 50 different hormone responses, and one of them is moods, managing anger, and being calm. So that one starts getting thrown off the more that you are pushing these stress and glucose hormones out and taxing that hormonal system. Then we have our second system, which is your nervous system. Now, every time that you get one of these stressors, again, doesn't matter, physical or mental, your body kicks into your stressed state, into your sympathetic nervous system, your stress nervous system. And when it kicks into that nervous system, you start getting tunnel vision. So you become very, very focused. And that's where everything starts looking like a fire. So one of your team members comes to you with something that's small, and it just becomes this big thing. Things that never used to faze you all of a sudden drive you crazy. It's because you're in this tunnel vision mode. You can't big picture think and get out of it. All this cortisol, adrenaline is pumping into your body, and you need to release it somehow as well. And that can come off with having anger, rage, and all that is one way to even decrease that. So that's on the hormonal side. From the nervous system side, you're kicking into that system all of the time. And your nerves are like a muscle. The more you work them, the stronger they get and the quicker they are to react. So when somebody's coming to you and they have some sort of issue that needs to get done, or it's somebody that on your team isn't pulling their weight, when you're going to talk to them, it's really hard when your stress system is so overpowering your resting nervous system. And then that resting nervous system can't kick in, keep you calm. And you instantly shift into that stress nervous system where pumps up your cortisol, pumps up the adrenaline, you need that release for that cortisol and that adrenaline. And you're also in that heightened stress state, can't big picture think. All of these things start happening and you start getting more frustrated, and that short fuse kicks in faster and faster and faster the more that you train it. Just like the gym, the more that you're training that nerve, the faster it is to connect. So we find people that are moving up the ladder have also been in service for quite a while. So a lot of the guys that we deal with are anywhere average 15 to 25 years of service would be the guys that we work with. Some of them are going into 30 years. We don't see guys in the first 5 to 10 years often. It's usually longer when that rage kicks in, when the anger. And again, as I said, it's usually at home first. At home is where you're actually supposed to be in your resting nerve most of the time, and you can't get in it anymore. So you keep going in that stress nerve and keep going into that stress nerve and kicking in all of these stress systems where when your child spills milk or asks a question or makes a mistake, you instantly shift into it and trigger that anger, that short fuse. And then that gets us into that third system, the gut. Now, there's so many things that could be going on in your gut. When your nervous system kicks in, it slows down stomach acids and starts causing a whole slew of issues in your gut. We have a lot of shift work. I know for a lot of officers, the vest pushing on your gut for your entire shift actually does do some damage in your gut. So we get all of these damages and deficiencies in your gut. And that is where these hormones that are supposed to be released are supposed to be going out through that system. They can't be released. But in that gut, we also get where it starts stressing you out. You get the constipation, you get the diarrhea, and it starts adding to that stress, which then kicks you into that stress nerve again, kicks out those stress hormones again, and keeps pushing you into that state where you are easily into get that short fuse going. So from there, let me know what questions you have. If there's anything you have, comment them below. You can also email me support@911lifestyle.com if you have any questions about that. So that gets into why the short fuse happens, especially to leaders as they are moving higher up the ladder, as you're with each promotion. So what do you do about that? It's not a one-stop shop solution. I wish I could tell you that it is. If you go back on my videos, I talk about about anger and how your tactical training is to blame. That will give you some tools that you can use to help you with that. But if you are 15, 20, 25 years in, that's probably not going to be enough. You're really going to need to go in to do a deep dive into the hormones, into the nervous system, and into the gut. Really be working on them together to make sure everything is getting back on track. We have guys, one in particular, who I know I'm okay to talk about this. That's as well why I'm talking about him. He anger, rage at work like crazy. After we started really doing some testing into his gut, finding what was going on, went in and fixed it. His gut, and he started on the protocol within 2 weeks. His colleagues were asking him what he was doing. They're like, we can talk to you now. You're calm. And the thing is he didn't change anything mindset wise. He just changed working on his gut aspect at that point. His gut was a mess. Some that come to us, it's more the hormones we need to dig in. Some it is nervous system. So we need to find out from you what is specifically taxing you. So let me know in the comments if you feel right now, you may have an idea. Do you feel that it's your gut? Do you have a lot of diarrhea, constipation, indigestion, GERD, IBS, gut issues? That could be the one that we would need to be looking into first. Hormonal. Do you struggle with tired and wired, waking mid-sleep? Are you finding that you're getting weight around your middle that you can't lose no matter how well you eat, how much you exercise? Do you get brain fog? A lot of that. That's more the hormonal side. And then we dig into the nervous system, and that's where you're constantly shifting into that nerve, into that stress nerve. So let me know, which one for you do you feel needs to get the attention first? Let me know in the comments, and start looking into it. I mean, we work in our program, we work at it very successfully with specifically first responders. What you may find if you start looking into it is a lot of things are made for civilians. Oh, just, cut out your stress, decrease, get into a routine, which none of these things you can do with all of your shift schedules, even with a Monday to Friday shift schedule. My husband is at the moment the logistics chief for our service. 5,000 members, sworn officers, and 2,000 civilians in his service. And yeah, he's at meetings all day, but he could be messaging me saying, hey, I'm at a meeting late, or weekends. He's usually in the command vehicle logistics for their protests, for our anti-mask protests and stuff. So those are 12, 15-hour days. First one there, last one to leave. So even if you have a Monday to Friday 9 to 5, it's not like a civilian's 9 to 5. So there's a lot of things where we have to really think outside the box. Really get outside that box and really think, okay, I can't take these things off my plate, but what I can do is lift that engine, lift the hood of my engine, and really dive into those hormones, nervous system, and gut, but tailor it to the life of a first responder. So we definitely help with this, but if you are going to go outside of us, things that I would really get you to dive into and look into is asking them how much experience they have with people, with first responders, with shift work, with the stressors that you deal with every day on the job. Really important to understand if they do understand how to be adjusting things based on your shifts. And diving in, find out what testing they do. Do they really do any diagnostic testing, or do they guess? Do they also work with other practitioners? If you're going to be working on hormones, nervous system, and gut, that's 3 different practitioners. Make sure that they are willing to work with one another so that you're not getting conflicting information from each of them, as well as they're all working together as a unit. So when your nervous system gets some relief, then you can start doing some other things in gut, but you can't do that until your nervous system gets some relief. So make sure that they're all working together. We do have that in our program. We have different specialists working together. You don't need to make appointments. You ask your questions 24/7. We answer them when we're in the office. So you actually get all your questions answered in real time as we're helping you out. And we all know what each specialist is working on with you so that we're all working together. We've also created it understanding that many of you don't want your services knowing that you're working on this. So we've created it where you can have an alias name, and using that alias allows you to ask your questions and get the help that you deserve, and will allow you to be the leader that you know that you can be, without anybody finding out. So we've built all of that into our program to make it work for first responders. So let us know what questions you have. Again, it's support@911lifestyle.com. And just know that if anger has hit you at this point in your career and it never used to be a part of where you were at, it's not you, it's your stress system asking for help.